right, welcome in to Missouri 8-Man football. Also recording this for Straight Up Sports as well. A little bit of a look inside of Missouri 8-Man football and exactly what we're going to do this week. Give some time for people to kind of roll in here a little bit for this little Week 6 preview. We're going to review Week 5 as well going into the season. Should be a lot of fun here. Going to be open for any questions you have here. I'll try to answer them all at the end kind of deal, or if I see them as I'm going, I'll answer them as well. So give it a minute for more people to... There we go, got someone coming in here. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Missouri 8-Man Football Facebook Live. A little bit of a preview for week number 6. We're over halfway through the season. Thank you guys for joining us here on the broadcast. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday night. I thought I'd do this on a more regular basis as we close out the year a little bit and kind of recap a little bit what happened last week and preview for the next week here on a Facebook Live. That way, if you guys have any questions, you guys can ask me, and I can answer them live kind of deal. So, I'll start off first with last week's action. Let me get my schedule pulled up here. Last week, can I go through the ranked teams first? Stanford took down Pattonsburg 75-14. No big surprise in that one. Stanford, very talented team. Pattonsburg can kind of rebuild a little bit. Big score there for Stanford, but no big surprise. Drexel Osceola was canceled due to COVID on the Osceola side. The game that I was at, number 5, Worth County, at number 2, King City last week, 44-34 win for Worth County, and a very impressive win for the Tigers. I know me and Anthony were both at the game. We talked about it afterwards, and we're kind of discussing some stuff. Worth County, they're so multiple on offense. You have, everyone knows Reinhardt's a stud running the ball. Everyone knows Gladstone can throw the ball. Gladstone also a decent runner. They got McIntyre, they got Rundy, they got a good offensive line. They can attack you in many different ways there, and it was really impressive to watch them play there against a good team like King City and kind of put it all on display for us. They only didn't score on 4 drives. 3 were ended in fumbles, and the other one was the end of the first half, the end of the 1-yard line when time ran out. So Worth County looked fantastic there last Friday night. They looked like a team that I was sleeping on a bit at the start of the year. I thought they were the third best team in the GRC coming in, but it kind of a, yeah, I think Stanford King City are the best too. Then Worth County is right there behind them kind of deal. They made me wrong there, so good win for Worth County. Very impressed with what they showed last week. For King City, I talked about this a little bit on Friday and then going into the week kind of deal. They just got to find a second pitch. Everyone knows Parker Muff's a really good running back, perhaps the best in the state. He's going to get his, I think it was 46 carries for 322 yards and 5 touchdowns versus Worth County. He 8 versus Stanberry. He 8 versus North Andrew. He's going to get his yardage. He's going to be very effective when he does. But you can't count on that for 4 quarters to still win games, put points on the board, because eventually they're going to key on him only. So you have to have Landon Wells throw the ball to Corbin Taylor and Ty Mooney, and guys like that have to step a little bit more, and they got to be trusted a little bit more in those situations. And I trust Coach Breckenridge to get all that kind of figured out. That's why he's the X and O's guys. I'm just talking here in the media. King City's going to be fine. They still got a really good O-line. Their defense played pretty solid. I know Worth County had their way with them a little bit, but they still forced some turnovers. They were opportunistic in their way, and they were not getting gashed kind of deal there as well. They were holding their own. Really, against the run, they were fine. It was those big pass plays they got to figure out on defense. So King City will be fine in that one. Another top 10 matchup, number 4, East Atchison versus number 10, Rockport. EA 48-0. Did what I kind of expected them to do. Good win for East Atchison. They're head and shoulders the best team in the 275. That's just the way it is this year. They're head and shoulders the best team in the conference. I think Rockport is right up that 2nd through 4th, 5th range kind of there with them, South Holt, Mound City, Platte Valley. I think those 4 teams are all kind of fighting for that middle ground to top of 275. And East Atchison is just a whole step above all those teams right now. I know they still have to play Platte Valley and Mound City. They got Mound City this week, but I don't expect EA to have any issues in conference play this year going forward. North Shelby, Knox County, number 6 ranked North Shelby last week did win 52-14. No big surprise there. North Shelby, very good team. Knox, injury bug a little bit, has kind of brought them down a bit. But Knox is still a good football team. Just ran into a couple of good opponents last 2 weeks. North Shelby, a very good football team, as we've kind of seen this whole year. They've been forgotten there in the northeast part of the state, but they are still a good football team. And also, more people rolling in here. I want to remind you that if you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll try to get to them at the end of the broadcast kind of deal there, and try to answer some questions as we go. So if you have any questions for last week, this week, stuff like that, just throw them my way. I'll try to answer them as we go here. Sorry, a 68-28 win for Oric at home versus Northwest Hughesville. Oric, number 17 in the state last week. Big win for them. Blake Buchanan's been fantastic the last couple of weeks. Therefore, really the last 4 years for Oric. So he's been really well. They got Jackson Miller back from COVID. They moved Xander Stevenson to quarterback there. I advise you to go to Anthony's podcast. We have it shared on the Facebook and the Twitter pages. Anthony Crane, he had Coach Thacker from Oric on this week. And he talked about the development of his team and them kind of unlearning bad habits kind of deal and how they're kind of figuring that out as way going forward now. And Oric's a team to keep an eye on in their district. I'll get to this later. Is them, LeBlanc, and King City kind of fighting for who's going to make it out of that district. If they can get things kind of rolling here, they got a big game coming up this week. Look for the Bearcats of Oric to possibly be a team to look out for in that one. Another great game down south. Number 9, Bishop LeBlanc, and number 8, Archie. Archie was able to hold on for a 28-24 win and getting ready for this week. Another big game for Archie. They've had 3 straight games here, including this upcoming Friday, where they're going to be tested kind of deal. So I'm really excited to see what Archie does here. They're a younger team, but I think they're kind of developing into their own and figuring out how they're going to win games a little bit. Their defense has been fantastic this year. The offense is still creative and figuring out ways to score a little bit there. So Archie, good win over LeBlanc team. They did get healthier. They had Reggie Love back at running back. Still don't have Jake Carell. I think he was missing on the stats. Well, he's missed the last 2 weeks for them. That's a big receiver they're missing there and a big component of their offense they don't have right now. But Bishop LeBlanc is still a good football team, and it was kind of a good gauging game for both those teams, and Archie was able to get a win there in that one. Rich Hill beat Appleton City 46-8. Double overtime game there in Bramer last week. Bramer wins their homecoming over Northern Hardin Central 40-34. And I kind of went back to the Jamboree when I was thinking about this game and picking it last week. And Bramer had looked a little bit better in the Jamboree, in my opinion, kind of watching both teams for the first time and kind of looking at the talent on the fields a little bit. And I know Northern Hardin Central was missing a couple of guys in that Jamboree. But Bramer looked really solid there. They looked better than they have in the past kind of deal. Their freshman quarterback, I think it's Jordan Haley. Make sure I get that right. Yeah, Jordan Haley. He leads the state in all-purpose yards this year right now, 1,967. He's second in the state in touchdowns with 23, just behind Jacob Coffey from Drexel has 25. He's also first in the state in passing yards with 1,379 yards, 275 a game. Nothing to sneeze at there. They're throwing the ball around a little bit. Put a big number versus Oric, big numbers again versus Northern Hardin Central. He's also third in the state in passing touchdowns with 13. So he's putting up big numbers as a freshman kind of deal. There's some stepping stones there for Bramer that I like going forward. After that, Jasper defeated Liberal 34-6. They actually threw the ball and completed a pass this week, so that's impressive. Jasper, through 5 weeks, has thrown the ball 9 times. They were 0 for 5 the second game of the year. They didn't throw it weeks 1, 2, or 1, 3, or 4. They finally threw it last week, I think 4 times. Finally completed a pass there. So I was kind of waiting for Jasper to complete a pass this year. It's kind of cool to see them finally do it last week in a win over Liberal. They're going to run the heck out of the football, though. So that's what Jasper's going to do. A tough loss to Archie. This week they kind of came in, got that rebound win versus Liberal to kind of position themselves as the third best team in the conference. They're in the WeMo. Lockwood took care of Greenfield 59-0. I have Lockwood in my top 10 this week. I have them still at number 10. I think the Tigers are a very good football team. They're getting slept on because they're a new team. They lost that week 1 game versus Pierce City in an 8-man game. Pierce City, 11-man team coming down. Everyone kind of forgot about them since that point, beating Jasper. Their big wins since then. They just look really solid and look dominant since that point. So I think Lockwood's starting to figure out 8-man a little bit, and I like where they're going so far. I'd say they're just outside the top 10 right now in the media poll. Mountain City, Nottoway Valley. Mountain City won 58-14. Good win for the Panthers. They're kind of getting things figured out and getting right with their program going forward. Nottoway Valley still trying to figure some things out. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there for the Thunder. They can hang with teams a little bit, but you can't do it for 4 quarters right now. And that's a learning thing. I know they're not a young team. I got this wrong earlier in the year. They're not a young team. They're an inexperienced team, though. They got some upperclassmen playing who didn't get a lot of playing time the last couple of years that have really put them behind the 8 ball a little bit. So we'll see what they do going forward for the rest of this season. A great game for non-top 10 games. Albany, Platte Valley. Platte Valley was able to get a win, 56-38. Big win for Platte Valley. I think Anthony's calling them the Patriots now. I'm not sure about that at this point. We'll see what Platte Valley. I'm begging Platte Valley to pick a mascot because I go to all my stat stuff and I have like all the teams, their mascot, and their coach, and there's just one blank spot in the middle where Platte Valley just has no mascot. And it's really frustrating because I can't talk about them either way. It's like it's Platte Valley. That's it. But the Albany Warriors didn't have enough quite there to beat Platte Valley. A great game back and forth. Just Platte Valley was able to extend at the end and win 56-38. Great win for Platte Valley. Going into this year for 275, I'm like, where are they going to win out of conference? I thought Stewartsville Osborne could against Keepsville, and they did. But Rockport had played King City. South Holt had Worth County. EA has Stanford. That's still a toss-up game. Nottoway Valley has Bishop LeBlond. I kind of looked at the conference. I'm like, they might only win one out of conference game. Mound City had Albany. I wasn't sure about that one. But Platte Valley got a huge win over Albany. And it's huge for Platte Valley in the 275 to show that, hey, we might have the top team. We have EA, and that's about it at the top. But that middle is still pretty solid against other middle teams in other conferences. So good win there for Platte Valley. North Andrew beat St. Joe Christian 74-6. They scored 74 straight points. North Andrew's good. St. Joe Christian's rebuilding. That's kind of it for that one. Same thing with St. Paul Lutheran beating Keepsville 63-6. Concordia Santa Fe, high scoring game, 92-66 win for Concordia. Big win for the Orioles. And Santa Fe started the year 3-0. Lost a couple weeks here in a row against Norman Hardin Central and Concordia. Kind of took some wind out of their sails. They got a tough schedule here down the stretch. Not sure what to do with Santa Fe at this point, but Concordia, they had a pretty tough schedule at this point going into the year a little bit. I know they had lost to Rockport. They lost to St. Paul Lutheran. Lost to, I think it was Drexel week 1 and Liberal. So they've had a decently tough schedule there as well. They finally got a game here where they get a big win in conference as well, in division. So a huge win there for Concordia over their rival in Santa Fe, their other rival outside the city limits of Concordia at least. Schuyler County playing KC East Christian. Just couldn't pull off the victory there. I think Schuyler was up 20-14 or so, 20-12 going into the fourth quarter. Lost 24-20. Tough loss for the Rams. I thought they were going to pull out a win there and get something going for them going forward. So kind of a tough loss for them. But KC East, I think they're improved this year. They beat Norman Hardin Central week 1. So I think Schuyler is getting a little better. KC East a little better than they have been in the past. So that's how that game went. South Holt beat DeKalb 64-6. And then Southwest Livingston beat Stewartsville Osborne 22-12. And a big win for Livingston. They needed kind of a win like that to kind of get things going and get a win and kind of get things right a little bit there. They've had a tough start to the schedule. They've had some really tough games, losing to Mound City, South Holt, East Atchison, some of the better teams at 275. They got Platte Valley this week. And we're just going to shift here and actually go to the media poll. Get that poll up here and kind of cover up my face a little bit here. Might be a little better view for everybody there at home. But as you see there, Stanberg in all first place votes, Worth County and Drexel and EA in the top 4, all separated by just 2 points from those 3 teams. Worth County right now sitting at 2, Drexel and East Atchison tied for that 3rd spot right now with 63 points apiece. North Shelby with 5 at 5, they're with 41 points. King City at 6 at 39. There was a nice little battle there for 5 in the media poll when I was tallying up the votes. 7-8, Oric Archie very close as well, 28-27. They both have big games on the road this week. One out of conference, one of the conference matchups, so we'll see how they do. St. Paul Lutheran, I've been trying to get them the rankings all year long, and they finally get in here at number 9, 14 votes. They got Santa Fe this week. And Bishop LeBlond stays in the top 10. They drop a spot to number 10 with 9 points there as they play KC East Christian this week. Try to get back on the winning ways there and improve to 5-1. But I think the next 2 teams on the media poll that I got left out here are very interesting. Lockwood and North Andrew. And technically Lockwood, if you look at the Mitchell website, they're 4-0. But I could have that for week 1 loss. I mean, they lost to Pierce City. We all saw that kind of deal. I still have them number 10 in my ranking. I think they're a very good football team. Just couldn't quite get to that 10 spot right now in the media poll. North Andrew is the best 3-2 team in the state right now. They got 4 points there for the poll. They got number 1 Stanberg here on the road this week. A big matchup for them. As well as Rockport is now 4-1. They fell out of the top 10. But they got at King City this week. So still some time for them to kind of bounce back and show their worth a little bit. We'll look at the conference standings here real quick. And again, if anybody has any questions at all, send them my way. I'm going to answer them here at the end. Or as we kind of go, if something kind of pops up that really kind of interests me a little bit, so we can kind of see what's going on with those. Now I'm just going to share this real quick. So yeah, that's what we have for you guys right now. And here, start with the 275 conference. East Atchison, they're 5-0 in conference play, 5-0 in the year. I don't expect that to change. But you see that little group right behind them: Rockport, Mound City, South Holt, and even Platte Valley. Platte Valley, their 2 losses are to South Holt and South Holt and Rockport. Whenever Platte Valley has some COVID issues, so we'll see how they do going forward. They did beat Mound City head-to-head already, so their toughest conference game left is East Atchison. Rockport, they still have to play Mound City and South Holt. So still some things going on here in the middle of that conference to kind of figure out. Southwest Livingston still has to play Nottoway Valley as well. Nottoway Valley still has DeKalb on their schedule as well. They're in DeKalb Stewartsville still to play each other. So still some interesting things to kind of sort out in the 275. We'll go over to the Grand River Conference now and kind of see what's going on over there. Stanbury and Worth County both undefeated in conference. Stanbury's played one more conference game at this point. Worth County's played one more game overall. So we'll see what happens here. Worth County, they still have to play North Andrew. They still have to play Worth County. They still have to play Stanbury. Stanbury still has both those teams as well. So they got 2 tough conference games left for both those teams at least. King City, only conference game they have left is, I believe, Albany. So they're in a good shape right now to finish probably 3-2 in conference. I think they'll finish 7-2 overall going forward. We'll go to the Central River League. And I'm going to correct this because I've said Central River Conference all year. It is the Central River League now. We go for the I-70 division first. There's 5 teams there: Oric, St. Paul Lutheran, Concordia, Santa Fe, and Northwest Hughesville. Hughesville, all 3 of their losses in conference are to North Shelby, Lutheran, and Oric, the 3 best teams in the conference right there. But Oric, they're undefeated in conference. They still got North Shelby to play, I believe, and I think Santa Fe as well. I think it's the last conference they had, 2 conference games they have kind of deal going forward, so they have a good chance they're going to catapult up. St. Paul Lutheran, their tough conference games are pretty much in the books at this point. They won't play North Shelby, and they've already played Oric and Hughesville. So St. Paul Lutheran looking pretty good at this point. Concordia, big win over Santa Fe. They still have to play Northwest Hughesville, I believe. And then, of course, kind of going down the ranks a little bit, Bramer being 2-0 in division is very interesting, with wins over Keepsville and Northern Hardin Central. And they still have some big games coming out. They have Concordia still. And kind of some interesting games where they could possibly continue winning a little bit here. They still got, I think they still play Santa Fe as well. So we'll see what happens there. Still some things in the CRL to kind of look at. Go over to the Wheatmill real quick down south. Archie and Drexel playing this week for the conference title. Jasper's there right behind them at 2-1 in conference play. Rich Hill 1-2. I think Rich Hill and Osceola will be fighting for that 4th place in the conference, with Osceola and Appleton City there at the bottom. So Rich Hill and Liberal have a big game here in week 9 coming up that we'll keep an eye on. And you can see the Independents down there as well, with LeBlanc and Lockwood both 4-1, 3-2 for Knox, and then everyone else either 1-3 or 0-5. So that's kind of the conference standings here right now. Quick question here from Coach Hasekamp, former assistant at South Holt Nottoway Holt, now doing 11-man stuff. So which coach in a new job is doing the best? Anyone outperforming their expectations going into the year on the coaching side? Best job as a new coach. A few come to mind. I know Platte Valley done a great job over there. Sokit does a great job over there. Kind of turned that culture around a little bit. I would say the thing about Coach Thacker there at Oric, they had a lot of talent as a bed there. It was just undisciplined and needed to be cultivated a little bit. He's done a great job with that. I think Coach Adwell has done a fantastic job at Worth County. I know they have a lot of talent there as well, but they were a mess last year, and they needed to kind of right the ship a little bit, and they've done that so far this season. With that, I don't think who else new coach this year. I'm trying to remember all the new coaches. We had a bunch of them this season as well. Let me see here. Am I missing anybody else? Oh, Coach Stuckey there at North Shelby, undefeated, kind of keeping the ship kind of going over there. I think he deserved a little bit of a shout-out as a new coach. But everyone else has kind of been either there for a while or kind of took over rebuilding programs. It's kind of hard to tell at this point. Like Seth Bass at Northland Christian, kind of tough to kind of see what's going on over there. There's talent there. It's developing, but it's a first-year program. It's hard to kind of judge that accurately in the first year. That's a thing we'll judge 2 or 3 years on the road when they kind of get everything cultivated and going a little bit over there. Who else here? Yeah, I think that's a pretty good little thing right now. Everyone else has either been a coach already, kind of just transition the program or whatever it may be with that kind of going forward. So I'm going to leave it at that kind of deal. Also, I want to give a shout out to Coach Douglas there at Bramer. They've really turned some things around the last couple of years. They only had won 3 games in 8-man before last year, doing a great job with that. Kind of going forward, Coach Dean, I don't know what Coach Dean's talking about birds in the comments. I'm not sure what's going on there, so I'm not sure. He just threw me off a little bit there. Thanks, Coach Dean. I can't wait to see Coach Dean tomorrow night, Friday night there for a little football down south. I am traveling south this week for Archie and Drexel. We'll get to that here. I'll pull up the schedule. Actually, first we're going to go to district standings. and what this kind of looks like so far this season. So starting District 1, down south, Archie, Drexel, Lockwood kind of battling for those top 3 spots. Lockwood has the head-to-head over Jasper right now, and Archie has the head over both of them. Drexel will not play Lockwood this year, but Drexel does play Archie and Jasper, so still some time to sort out the top 4 over there. But I think everything else looks pretty intact of what it's going to be over there. I know Appleton still plays Greenfield later. Greenfield already beat Osceola. Liberals in good shape there, that 5-6, with them with Rich Hill kind of fighting for that positioning over there. So that district looks pretty figured out, in my opinion, kind of looking at it going forward. And it looks like... Yeah, thanks, Coach Douglas. You the man. Okay, so it's a good time there. Also, Bramer, I saw their weightlifting facility, much improved, kind of deal with that. District number 2, North Shelby right now, they're in great shape with wins over Knox, and I think Northwest Hughesville, they play Santa Fe later. They're going to be in good shape to get that number 1 seed. Unless they trip up somewhere and Lutheran get them on points, then possibly St. Paul could host that district going forward. St. Paul Lutheran kind of locked in that 2 spot unless North Shelby falters. Knox County, they're at 3 right now, but they do have a head-to-head loss to Northwest Hughesville, who I think is going to get some wins here down the stretch and could jump up to that 3 spot kind of deal. Santa Fe, they're at 4 right now. I think the look at Santa Fe, though, they've lost to Northern Hardin Central and Concordia head-to-head, so if they drop down, and you only flip-flop 1 spot. So if they go to 5, for example, them and Hughesville flip-flop spots. So say points is Santa Fe 5, Hughesville 4. Santa Fe and Northern Hardin Central could flip, but Santa Fe would be locked into the 6th spot. They could not fall to 7 kind of deal. So it's something to look forward to going into the year in that district. Some head-to-head could impact not just the points that are there right now, but head-to-head could flip some teams in the standings as well with that. Jared Simmons, how do the points work for district standings? Misha has an entire formula that I've tried to figure out before, but I really don't understand it. It's got win-loss record, strength of schedule. It goes by your opponent's record and the opponent's record kind of deal. So it gets really into the weeds. It changes a lot week to week kind of deal. So usually the tougher schedule you play, you get a little more points and a little boost up there. The teams you play have better records and that they've beaten good teams kind of deal. So it's really tough to kind of see right now exactly how it's going to shape up. I'm keeping track of as the year goes on with the district standings a little bit and everything going forward with that. So that's how that kind of works. It's a very complicated formula they have right there. Let's see here. So that's district number 2. A lot to figure out still in that district. District number 3, who the winner of district 3 will play the winner of district number 1. You have Oric, LeBlanc, and King City there at the top. Those could shuffle as the year goes on. Oric has 2 tough games here coming up with Worth County and North Shelby. LeBlanc, their toughest game they have left is Northwest Hughesville. So they could finish 8-1, 7-2, and maybe steal the top seed in this district. I think King City's going to finish 7-2. So Oric, somewhere between 6-2, 8-0, depending on how they do versus the 2 top teams of the state, Worth County and North Shelby. Those top 3 are going to fluctuate a little bit. I will say, if you're in District 3, you're the team that's somewhere between Livingston and Stewartsville Osborne right now. So Livingston, Bramer, Northland, Pattonsburg, Stewartsville. You do not want the 6th seed right now because you're guaranteed in the first round to play one of the top 3 teams in the district. You want the 4 or 5 or one of the playing games to play someone else, kind of your own little talent, maybe get a playoff win, then move on to play one of the better teams the following week. Kind of do. You want to postpone that for as long as possible with that. And then district number 4, the district of death. I mean, this district is just brutal. Right now, North Andrew's the 8th seed. I don't expect that to continue. I think they're going to be able to jump up a little bit. I think North Andrew's going to finish around the 5 seed, which is just brutal for the number 1 seed. Okay, great. We're the 1 seed. We get to avoid. So, say, for example, say if EA just get the 1 seed. They beat Stanberry. They're able to get 9-0, get the 1 seed. Great. You avoid Worth County and Stanberry until the district championship game. But here comes North Andrew in the district semifinals. That's brutal kind of deal. If North Andrew gets a 6 or 6 seed or something like that, that 3 seed has a brutal stretch. So, for example, right now, say if North Andrew gets a 6, say Stanberry stays at 3. They lose to Worth County and East Ashton in the year, finishes the 3 seed. You go in the playoff, you got to play North Andrew first. You win that game, your reward is playing Worth County. You win that, your reward's playing East Atchison. If you win that, your reward's probably playing North Shelby again or St. Paul Lutheran kind of deal. So that could be the toughest stretch I've seen in a long time. I know Mountain City had a tough stretch a few years ago where they went through EA, through North Andrew to get to the district state semifinals. I think that year that's when they played Drexel. in the semifinals and then went on to win a state championship game. But this district is really tough. Even teams like South Holt's the 7th seed right now. South Holt, if you look at the points, would be the 4 seed in District 3, would be the 3 seed in District number 2, would be a 5 seed in District number 1. A lot of these teams here in District number 4 would be much higher seeded in other districts. Just kind of a weird draw of geography, kind of deal with that going forward. With that, Coach Hasekamp said, best player on a bad team. Oh, I'm trying to think here who's, let's see here. Let me just look at some quick stats here, kind of look here to just kind of refresh my memory on teams that kind of struggle a little bit going forward. Jordan Haley had to be in the conversation with Bramer. The freshman quarterbacks played really well this year, kind of surprising people. Peyton Morrow for Liberal, I think, deserved a little bit of love for him. He's a really good player. I think Kipper Klein from Albany. I don't know if they're a bad team or not, but they're going to finish with an under 500 record. He's a very good player that I think gets overlooked a little bit for them as well. I think Platte is a good team now, so I can't really say Carter Luke. I think he's a really talented player as well. A couple of the Hossetter kids there for Santa Fe is pretty talented as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of really talented kids on some teams that aren't winning at high level right now. Dante Birch, Northland Christian, is another great one to mention in there as well. They're a team that he's a guy that's really quick and explosive, that's just kind of not a great line play there at Northland Christian, so they're kind of struggling right now. So, a lot of good players. Bray Langford from Pattonsburg, I think, could be in that discussion as well. Peyton McFrederick from Rich Hill. Kind of scrolling through here with that. Is EA the best? Is EA's defense the best in the state? I mean, I lean that way right now. Right now, they lead the state in points per game allowed. I think it's at 2.4. Yeah, so next best is Drexel at 6.5. Neither one of the teams have played great schedules. They kind of pick up here later in the year. But EA, we've seen it for over 2 years now. Their defense is fantastic. You saw even 3-4 years ago. It's been a continuous thing for them and for Drexel and some of these teams to have really great defenses going on the whole year. EA's defense is, I don't have any questions about their defense. Merriweather might be the best linebacker in the state. He just flies around and makes plays. Aaron Sluter up front. They're fantastic on defense. I have nothing bad to say about EA's defense. The only thing I have with them is their offense against other good teams. And so far this year, their offense has been really good as well. So, EA is a good team. I want to see them versus better competition so far, and that's not their fault. I'm not blaming them. 275 is down this year. Kind of a weird year for the 275. But I think Stanbury's defense is fantastic as well. Austin Colvin, when he's healthy in the middle of the defense, you really can't run the ball versus Stanbury. You got to kind of force the pass, and then they can kind of get after you on the pass as well. They do a lot of great things on defense there at Stanbury. I think Worth County's defense is solid. It's not quite to that level. I haven't seen Drexel in person yet, so I can't really speak on how great their defense is without seeing them kind of live in action. I'll see them this Friday. North Shelby, very good defense as well. So there's a lot of really good defense. I think St. Paul Lutheran can be included in that as well, with a big D-line that's really active as well. There's a lot of good defense in the state. I think EA right now would be my number one defense, though, going forward. Thank you for the question there, Scott. John Dykstra, who is the most knowledgeable media member for 8-man football who doesn't have a vote in the poll? Try to think who I'm leaving out of the poll that would be the most knowledgeable member of 8-man media in the poll. It might be Zenner for the news press. I might give Zenner used to be a voter for us. Last year it was Tenpenny, and I replaced Zenner with Tenpenny. So that's what we have right now for the media members. But all 8 guys who do the poll for 8-man football do a great job. They get to me the polls every Sunday afternoon or evening of the latest kind of deal, and they do a great job of getting everybody ranked and get everybody some recognition from across the state. It's been great to see it kind of explode here. 8 members there for the media poll for 8-man football. I think it's a really solid number there that we have right there. They do a great job, and I'll show the media poll here one more time while it's up here. And I'll let you know that what I have here going forward, my top 10 personally, I have Stanbury 1, Worth County 2, EA Drexel 3, 4. I flipped a coin, I think, pretty much those 2 teams. I had King City 5, North Shelby 6, Oric 7, Archie 8. St. Paul Lutheran was at my 9, and my 10 was Lockwood. And I think North Andrew and LeBlanc were the first 2 teams out for me as personally. I also considered South Holt as well. I think they're a team that's flying a bit under the radar after the first 3 weeks against really tough teams. Coach Douglas, if Southwest Livingston Bramer match up in districts, if it happens, who you got? Ooh, that's interesting. I I hate to go back to only what I've seen of those teams live, the Jamboree, but it's also kind of the master versus the apprentice a bit. And if we kind of look at that one, I might lean Bramer. I do love, I hate saying this because I know the Southwest Livingston people are going to see this now and see that I'm picking against them again in the playoffs. Or again, for some other reason, they're going to come after me a little bit. Because Owen H. and Glenn Holt up front are just monsters for Southwest. They're just so young outside of those guys that they're not really, the skill guys just aren't quite there for them. But I'll give the love to the little freshman quarterback, and then also the freshman running back and kind of tight end shoe as well. I'll give Bramer some love there. I think Coach Douglas gets his former assistant in a little rematch there. I hope that happens in a 4 or 5 matchup. It'd be an interesting game for the second round. Might be an interesting possible game to go to kind of deal as well, depending on some other matchups around the state as well. So should be a lot of fun. And that would just be a really fun story as well to watch Southwest and Bramer kind of play each other. Teams that are pretty close to each other that aren't in the same conference as of right now. They kind of play each other and kind of renew a geographical rivalry a little bit there as well. Be kind of cool to watch Southwest and Bramer kind of play with that, which I think right now would happen if the season ended today. I don't know if it will, because I know they got some tough games for both those teams coming up. But I think Bramer right now is my favorite to get the 4 seed. That's where I'm at. I think they might get the 4 seed in that district, which would be a massive improvement there for Bramer going forward. Okay, we'll go to next week now. If you guys have any more questions, keep them rolling in, and I'll try to answer them best I can. Okay, so first up, North Andrew at Stanford. I think it's this is the third best game of the weekend kind of deal, but it's a fantastic football game. 2 teams that will just love to hit you in the mouth over and over and just see who's surviving after 4 quarters. As good as Linville is for North, I know I've went this whole time talking about Linville for North Andrew. He's a stud as well at quarterback. Another freshman quarterback who's really good in the state. Ecker as well at running back is a fantastic football player. Goff, Chittum, they got a really good nucleus there at North Andrew. When they get healthy here, and they are right now, they're going to be a tough out for Stanbury, Worth County in conference play. But Stanbury right now, they're just a machine. They come out there, they hit you in the mouth. They're across the board. If you got Austin Colvin, who's 6'4", 275, Tucker Schieber, who's not very big, but is a really talented running back, and then everyone else is like 6'1" to 6'2", 170 to 190, and they're all athletic. They all like to hit. There's kind of a fun team with that as well, with that going forward. The second game of the week is, I think, the second best matchup, maybe the best matchup. Number 7, Oric, at number 2, Worth County. This is the game that Anthony will be at, so on Twitter, at Crane_Anthony, go follow him there to watch Oric play Worth County. That should be a lot of fun in that one as well. Might move this over a little bit so you can see my face while I'm talking, so I'm not just talking behind the graphic. But that should be a lot of fun, that one, between Buchanan for Oric with Jackson Miller, Xander Stevenson and company. They got a lot of good nucleus there at Oric. The new coach was Coach Thacker, playing Worth County team who just won a huge game last week. I want to see how they respond in a back-to-back week. I think Worth County will be fine here. I do think Worth County wins this game, but I think Oric does give them some fits here because Buchanan is a gifted runner. He's not a kid that I think is just going to bowl through people like a Muff and like a Reinhardt. He's more of a crafty runner. He's going to find the little holes there in the line of scrimmage and squirt out. All of a sudden, he's gone for a 40-yard touchdown. He's really just a elusive runner and can see the holes really well. He's a really smart player for them as well. I think it's going to be a really fun football game. I do think in the end, Worth County does win this game. I think they're just a little better up front is where I'm kind of going with this one. Okay, and then up next we have almost to the South games. It's the game that I'm going at number 8, Archie, at number 3, Drexel. Should be a lot of fun. I was going to go this game last year, and then some COVID stuff hit Archie, and the game wasn't going to be as interesting, so I went to North Andrew Stanbury. So this year I am actually going to this game down in Drexel. Should be a lot of fun to watch Coach Smith and the Archie Whirlwinds, who, by the way, they added the helmet. They added the Whirlwinds thing, and I am so happy because it's a great look for them. And then Drexel as well. They have Coffee, Coach Dean, and company there. Drexel is kind of a well-oiled machine as well. I think it's going to be a really fun football game. I do think Drexel is the favorite going into this game. Until someone down south knocks them off, I'm going to side with Drexel. It's kind of the same thing with the whole state discussion of who's going to win the state title. Until someone knocks off a Worth County, Stanbury, EA kind of deal, they're kind of the favorites. Same thing down south with Drexel. Until someone knocks them off down south, they're the favorites each and every week down there. And this is their first big matchup of the week. I know Archie's been tested the last couple of weeks with Jasper and Bishop LeBlanc. This is Archie's first big matchup of the season. Mound City at number 3, East Atchison. That was a huge game 2 years ago. It had been a huge game last year before, and that was a game Mound City kind of got their injury bugs, and they haven't been the same since then after losing Landon Papa in that game. But give me East Atchison on this one. Different type of level there than 275, kind of talked about before. Mound City's getting better as the year goes on with Rother at quarterback. Both Tubbs get in the backfield as well. They're getting better. I just think EA is just going to win this game. And Coach Dodson, the D coordinator for EA, he's seen Mound City's scheme enough times. I think he knows how to slow it down enough to where they can get a pretty good-sized win here. In East Atchison, they're going to put that number 1 defense on display there versus Mound City. We'll see if Mound City throws a few wrinkles at them to get some points up on the board in that one. Game on Thursday night, number 5, North Shelby at Keepsville. They had to move it due to the ref shortages. Also, everyone watching this, Week 8, if there's any cancellations, Schuyler County is looking for a game in Week 8. So that's, I think, October 15th. They're looking for a game there. I want to give that a shout-out. Them over there. But North Shelby, they should roll in this one over Keepsville. North Shelby, one of the better teams in the state. Keepsville, still building, only second year of the program. Up next here, Rockport at number 6, King City. I think King City's going to come out motivated and refocused after last week's loss. They've lost 2 of the last 3 weeks here, now to Stanford and Worth County, the top 2 teams in the state. I think they come out here and they kind of hit Rockport in the mouth a little bit. I think Rockport, they found some things that they were doing wrong versus East Atchison. They're going to be able to correct those things. I just think King City's a more talented team. And if King City does not win this game by multiple scores, I'll be kind of surprised in that one as well. Rockport, they're going to ground the rock. They got Heron. They got Makings. All the guys over there. I just think King City is a more talented football team. So give me the Wildcats of King City to beat the Blue Jays of Rockport. Santa Fe at St. Paul Lutheran. This was a game a couple weeks ago that maybe had a little more hype because Santa Fe was 3-0. Lutheran was 2-1 with 1 loss to Oryx, and they were going to be 4-1 at this point. And then Santa Fe lost the last 2 weeks, kind of taking the shine off this game a little bit. I'm glad to see Lutheran in the rankings. I think Lutheran wins this game. This is a big week next week, I think, for homecoming versus Lockwood. So a really interesting kind of 2 weeks here for St. Paul Lutheran. KC East Christian at LeBlanc. LeBlanc should win this one fairly comfortably in this one. Same with Schuyler at Albany. Albany should win that one. Northwest Hughesville at Concordia. I think it'll be a lot of points scored in this one. I think Concordia can throw the ball a little bit and maybe challenge the Hughesville secondary a bit. But I think Hughesville up front will have the advantage in this one with Crosswhite, Bales. There's another kid from Northwest Hughesville. I'm forgetting his name up front who's played really well this year. I just can't quite think of his name right now. So they're going to be fine. Also, Caden Crooker. I'm not forgetting Crooker. He's a really good football player, leads the state in tackles. There's another lineman they had who played really well last week when I saw him versus Knox County a couple weeks ago. Hughesville should win this game. If they don't, I'll be kind of surprised with that. Nottoway Valley at DeKalb. I think this is a get-right game for the Thunder. I think Nottoway Valley does win this one, get their second win of the program, get over DeKalb. DeKalb, they have some rebuilding to do kind of deal. Jasper, Greenfield, they couldn't hang with Lockwood last week. Jasper's kind of the same level. Jasper should win this one fairly comfortably. St. Joe Christian going to Knox County. Give me Knox. In this one, St. Joe Christian still kind of trying to rebuild their program towards former glory. I'm actually getting to it right now, Clayton Robertson, going to Liberal at Lockwood. So it should be a lot of fun with this one. I think Lockwood, I'll make you a promise here. Lockwood, if you win this week, I think St. Paul Lutheran will win as well. I will go to St. Paul Lutheran next week to watch them play Lockwood. Lockwood's a pretty far drive for me on a Friday night, but going to St. Paul Lutheran, it's a short little hour drive for me over to Concordia. So Lockwood, I'll make you a promise. You win this week, I'll come to your game next week. And Lockwood, and part of that is Lockwood and Lutheran have been kind of my white whales this past year. I've had them in the rankings the last couple of weeks, trying to get some buzz around them to get them ranked a little bit. With that, I'll go quick to Stoneburner's question as well. I was going to go to North Shelby Stanberry, but unfortunately, with Stanberry and their situation with their press box, it's really tough to broadcast over there. And if there's any bad weather at all, my system is not set up to be outside like that in the open elements. I don't want to risk that a little bit and get knocked off the air, have to broadcast in the bleachers kind of deal. So I'm going to do some Stanberry games the last 2 weeks of the year, I think. They're playing EA in Worth County. Didn't want to do really Stanberry the last 3 weeks as well. So unfortunately, I won't probably get to see North Shelby in person, which really kind of frustrates me. Because I wanted to see them in person, but unfortunately with that kind of situation with their media people there, it's hard to broadcast from Stanberry with that right now. So, as I said, Clayton, Lockwood wins this week over Liberal. you're booking a ticket for me next week for them at St. Paul Lutheran. Should be a lot of fun. Two of my favorite new kind of programs in the state of Missouri. Northland Christian and Auburn Hardin Central. This is a fun matchup. I think Northland Christian has a chance to get another win here. They had a bye week last week, kind of refocus after a kind of rough few weeks there in the middle of starting 1-0, losing their last 3. I think they have a chance here versus Auburn Hardin Central. I'm probably leaning towards the Aggies at this point. I think they're a little more trustworthy at this point. They can a little more consistent on offense. Northland, the pieces are there. They've had opportunities to score points this year. They're either dropping passes or they're just missing one little read. It's right there for them. Maybe they'll figure it out this week. I'll have to keep an eye on this game as it goes on. Appleton City Osceola. This is Anthony's team right here. Appleton City, I think AC wins this one. I think Appleton gets a win here. Osceola has been better this year than they have been in the past. I think Appleton wins this week. I think they beat Greenfield here in a couple of weeks as well. Possibly get 2 wins in the year for Appleton City. Also, Appleton City, arguably the best uniforms in the WeMo. I said they red and blue. Great bulldog on the side of the helmet. Fantastic look for them going forward. Southwest Livingston at Platte Valley. Southwest, big win last week. Platte Valley, I think they're the third best team in the 275, maybe fourth. I think they get a win over Southwest at home to give me Platte Valley in this one. Pattonsburg, Rich Hill. This is a fun game. I can't really put my finger on either one of these teams and how good they really are this year. I'm going to lean... I really haven't even thought about this game too much here going forward. 2 good quarterbacks, Zane Reed for Pattonsburg and McFrederick for Rich Hill. I think I'm going to lean Rich Hill in this one at home to get a win here. Their first time in 3 meetings versus Pattonsburg, get a win, actually escape that with a win. Would be a big win for Rich Hill in the South kind of deal with 2 teams who are both kind of the same level in their conferences to get a win there. I think it would be great for the WeMo kind of going forward on that. In the last game of the week, South Holt at Stewartsville Osborne. South Holt should win this one fairly comfortably, in my opinion, going forward. And then Bramer right now does not have a game. We'll see if anything kind of manifests, but I don't think anything's going to at this point. Maybe. I don't know. If there are any other questions here before I sign off for the night? I've been talking for about 45 minutes, so you guys probably had enough of me at this point. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. We're getting to it. October 1st is week 6. October 29th is the week 1 of the playoffs. So we are getting there. I am keeping an eye on playoff potential matchups. I'll have to look into broadcasting. I don't think we're going to be able to do playoff games just because the budget right now is just not where it's going to be. But I'm going to keep doing these for as long as we can. And then once I'm done broadcasting for the season, I will go to games and shoot highlights as well to get some playoff highlights and everything, to get some coverage from around the state as well going forward. So as we have, I'll probably say week 1 is kind of those play-in games. District 4 is probably where I'm going to go because right now I was kind of messing with some stuff and kind of projecting out and who I think is going to win what games, what it's going to do for the standings a little bit. And as I said earlier, mission points make no sense to me, trying to figure all that stuff out. I'm good at math. I don't understand their math. Mission math is different than my math, apparently. I'm trying to figure it all out. Has your opinion changed on who you have meeting in the state championship from the start of the season? It has. And part of that is because my preseason, who I had going to the district state championship game, they ended up in the same district. I had Oric and King City. I don't think either one of those teams make the state championship at this point. I think King City has a great chance. Oric, I want to see what they do versus some good teams here with Worth County and North Shelby coming up. But down south, I'll go with my district champions kind of going forward here. Answer those questions. I do think Drexel wins District 1. I think they'll beat either Archie or Lockwood in the district championship game, depending on how that other side of the bracket goes. I do believe North Shelby or Lutheran wins District 2, I believe. I think it's going to be North Shelby. I trust them a little bit more at this point to win that big game. But if that game, so say if North Shelby, they lose to Oric and Stanberry, they could fall to the 2 spot, and now they have to go across the state to go to St. Paul Lutheran to play a district championship game. That's very intriguing for me as well to see maybe Lutheran can get a win there. But I think North Shelby is just a little bit better than them at this point. District number 3, I think King City wins that district at this point. I have more faith in them right now than Oric or LeBlond. But they could have to go through, King City could have to go through Oric and then LeBlond as well. That makes it really tough there for that 2-3 seed to win that district, to win back-to-back really tough games. The District 4, I think whoever wins District 4 wins state. Between Stanberry, Worth County, EA, whoever wins that district and kind of is able to survive that, if they're healthy when they survive that kind of deal, will be the favorite to win state. I think whoever's the 1 seed will be the favorite because they don't have to play the other one until the district championship game kind of deal. So right now, if I had to pick a state championship game, I would go Stanberry-Drexel. Would be my state championship game. I think Drexel would win their district, beat either Orrick or King City in the state semifinal, and Coach Dean would finally get the state championship game for his first time in 4 tries. He's made the state semifinals the first 3 years, 2 years in Miami and last 2 years at Drexel, so this would be his 5th time is the charm there for him. But that's where we're at right now. I actually also do a thing where one of my screens, I have kind of a tier list with that I think is very interesting and it's not so important how to rank teams 1 through 38. I think that's kind of a fool's errand to kind of rank everybody. Well, who's 20 and who's 21? No one really cares about that. I think there's a tier system that could kind of work better. So tier 1, I think there's 4 teams in tier 1. Stanberry, Worth County, EA, Drexel. I think they're the 4 best teams in the state. I have them right now right there. And then the next tier, I have King City, North Shelby, Orrick, Archie, St. Paul Lutheran. I have those next 5 teams in that little tier of these are all state contenders, but there's something with each one of them that kind of gives me some pause kind of deal. They're not quite as good as the top 4 teams, but they're right there with them. And they could win a state championship, and it would not surprise me if the right things kind of broke their way. The next tier, tier 3, dangerous playoff teams that you don't really want to face, but I don't know if they can do enough to beat 2 or 3 really good teams in a row come playoff time. This is Lockwood, North Andrew, LeBlanc, Jasper, South Holt, Platte Valley. Those 6 teams are all going to be really pain in the butts to kind of play in the playoffs. But we've seen them versus some top teams that kind of struggled. South Holt versus Worth County, Platte Valley versus who'd they lose to? Platte Valley lost to South Holt, so they're kind of in that same little tier for me. LeBlanc losing to Archie. They beat North Andrew earlier in the year, but they were kind of injured. I think North Andrew wins that game in a rematch kind of deal. Lockwood, you've seen them. I think they have a chance next couple of weeks to kind of prove their worth when they have Archie and St. Paul Lutheran on their schedule still going forward. Tier 4, kind of the same thing with Tier 3, teams that you don't want to really play in the playoffs, but there's some definite flaws that you have been exposed so far this year. Keepsville, Rockport, Albany, Mound City, Knox County, whether it's injuries, just toughness of their district kind of deal, their conference, those teams are kind of there. And then the last 3 tiers, Tier 5, I have Rich Hill, Nottoway Valley, Bramer, Liberal, Pattonsburg, teams that can beat up on some of the lower level teams, but they start to step up and they kind of hit a wall. Same with District 6, Tier 6, Livingston, Concordia, Northern Hart Central, Santa Fe, Northland, Stewartsville, teams that kind of beat up on each other in that area, can beat the teams below them, but really struggle to move up. And then the last tier is all the winless teams in Greenfield, so Appleton, Greenfield, Schuyler, Osceola, St. Joe Christian, DeKalb, and Keepsville is where I have those teams. So that's how I kind of look at the tiers. I could be totally wrong, but that's where I kind of have it. But I think Stanberry right now is the favorite to win the state. I would go Stanberry over Drexel for a state championship game. But Stanberry, their work's not done. I know they beat King City week 3. But their schedule coming up, they got North Andrew this week, home versus North Shelby, at East Ashton, at Worth County. If they go through that stretch undefeated, they finish 9-0, they are by far the favorite to win state because they've beaten 3 of the top 5 contenders in the state, or 4 of the top 5 contenders in the state. Everyone but Drexel they've played pretty much. That would put them right there. So that's what I have for you guys. Are there any other questions you guys want me to answer kind of going forward before I shut it down for the night and go get some food? That's what I have for you guys. It's been a blast. Make sure you guys tune in. 6:50 is when I'll probably start right after the national anthem plays there in Drexel to have Archie versus Drexel. Hope you guys enjoy this. Hope you guys enjoy the graphics I put up there as well. They're going to help with the broadcast a little bit during the season. I know it was a little hard to hear me last week. I didn't have my headset was kind of acting up a little bit. It'll be fixed for this week, so you'll be hearing me a little better down there at Drexel. But yeah, I can't wait to go south. I'm probably going south this week. I do think Lockwood wins, so I think they go with them and Lutheran the following week. And I'm looking at Stanberry, EA, and Worth County hosting Stanberry for the last 2 weeks of the year. And then possibly a possible matchup in districts in the playing games with probably like either Albany at Rockport, Albany Mound City kind of deal, and that Mound City at Albany. Those kind of teams are going to be there. I think they're the 7, 8, 9, 10 spot there in the district number 4. Nottoway Valley should probably get the 10 seed in that one. So that 8-9 matchup in that district will probably be the go-to game for me in that week. But we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for listening. I don't see any more questions on here. I'll give it just another second to kind of see if we have anything else. I'm going to scroll through here and make sure I didn't miss anything while I was talking. deal. I think I got all the questions as well. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure if you want to share this, fantastic. I just talked for 50 minutes about 8-man football. I love the coverage we're giving everybody. I love the feedback we get from the coaches. Also, quick shout out. There's 38 teams in 8-man football, and I have lists written down here. Only 6 do we not have any stats for so far this year. So no stats for Keepsville, Appleton, Greenfield, St. Joe Christian, Southwell, or Stewartsville, Osborne. Mount City added their stats this week. So there's 5 teams where I have some stats, but not all. So Lockwood, Knox, Santa Fe, North Shelby I have all but last week. And then Osceola, I have week 1, but not week 2 or 3 yet. Maybe they've been updated since I've been talking here. But those 5 teams. The other 27 teams have posted their stats. They are all up to date on the Google Docs. They're all ordered correctly now. I did that last night. So if you guys want to see any of the stats, you want to see where you rank, where your teammates rank, your kid rank, your grandkids, whatever it may be, it is all in this Google Docs. There at the top of the Facebook and Twitter pages if you want to see there. So all the stats are there. What does Zinner have that I don't? He doesn't bug me about it. Which I will get to see John Dykstra, Zinner, Roush, and all the good folks there and the media around Northwest Missouri at the Northwest Missouri Western game on Saturday, because I'll be there. I'll have a media pass for that one. So I do 2 things. I cover D2 football as well for the MIAA, so that should be a lot of fun with that. So that's what I have right there. And John, I have to be the ugliest dude in the media poll. It's just the way this is the rules. I have to be the ugliest dude. I can't have anybody uglier than me be the meme. I'm just kidding with that. So that's what we have with that right now. You guys have a good rest of your night. I will see you guys Friday. I will have the Twitter poll up tomorrow morning. So I didn't do it today. I forgot. But all the Twitter polls for all the games, I will have that up in the morning. And it should be a lot of fun. I'll get ready for this Friday night. But everyone, have a great night. I will see you guys Friday night.